2 days ago, I journeyed with psilocybin for the first time in over a year. Now, the last experience I had back in August of 2022 was incredible, and it provided everything that I needed from the journey. But my plan was to kind of do mushrooms like a big dose, maybe like twice every year. And for whatever reason, I just let it slip from me. Any of you who have done a big dose of psilocybin, I'm sure might be able to relate to you're planning to do a big dose, it's coming down to the wire, and then you get anxiety around it. For whatever reason, whether it is your ego knowing that you're about ready to unravel some shit and it just wants to remain the same, or just understanding the magnitude a heavy psilocybin journey can provide. It can completely unravel shit for you. So yeah, I had put it off for over a year, and I'd been meaning to do it because I've felt self-confidence issues. I'm also, thinking of having a family in the future, and I want to continue to do work and healing surrounding ancestral trauma and just familial trauma. I mean, hey, we all have family bullshit, I'd like to think. And this is just my way of helping to cope and come to terms with things within my family and try to be a better person myself. So I did 5.55 grams of penis envy variety called Hillbilly Pumpkin. And I took it around 10 o'clock in a lemon tech tea form. And so I took it, I sat in front of my altar and, set an intention for what I would like to happen, things I would like to try to figure out or come to terms with. And then also before any of this too, I made sure to clean the house. That is super important for me because the last thing I want is to be coming out of a journey and just see the house in disarray. So anyway, cleaned the house earlier in the day, took my tea, set my intention. I took my dogs down to the creek right after consuming the tea. And then when I got back, I hopped in the shower real quick, kind of cleaned off. And from there, I went up to my bedroom. I put a blindfold on and earplugs in. And as soon as I did that, closed my eyes, laid down in bed, I was seeing DMT, ayahuasca-esque visuals. It was incredibly profound, just what I was seeing. But that didn't last too long. I went offline, my default mode network went offline for quite some time. I would come to, and these moments in which I came to, I would just be like, holy shit, money. What are we doing with money? We let our lives be consumed by money. And I would think about people online, myself included, who sell themselves online to make money, and just holy shit, we've gone so far from what we're supposed to be doing, the life we could be living. Wow, everything is just so fucking nuts. We're just, it could really be so simple. Life is so much more than what we are doing here in the matrix and the system. And that is what I was confronted with. Anytime that I was kind of coming to, I would just snap into this holy shit, this money thing is insane. I had a complete ego death. I forgot about who it is that I really am. I questioned, so on this whole money issue, I'm like, what do I do for money? Is money important to me? How am I making money? And I started thinking about my husband and how we make money. And then I would just have moments where I would just completely go out again. I also had moments where I would just start crying because of how temporary everything is. And I mourned, life, the idea that we're only here for a split second and then then it's all nothing. everything matters and everything doesn't matter. Like, our life matters, and yet it doesn't in the grand scheme of things. And so I was mourning that. And then I had a moment where I just went out for a while. And then I came to probably about 3 hours in, so after my peak. And at this point, the thing that came up for me is, fuck, am I a good person? Am I a good person? And I was in bed and I was just flailing all around, crying over the idea that, yeah, you know, like, there's some times where I'm an asshole, you know, and I could be better. I could be more in alignment and less of an egocentric human being who has my needs and wants my needs met and sometimes can hurt other people. And so that came up for me, and maybe for like a half hour, I just laid in bed thinking about how I could do better, how I could show up better for my partner, how I could show up better for my friends, my community, how I am attached to my phone in ways and how unhealthy that is, and how just my presence and being more present for people could have a more profound impact. After this, I kind of pulled it all together, and I went down to a creek, a private isolated creek near us, took my dog down. And when I got to the creek, I got into the water, and for the next hour, I stood in one place as I just wailed and cried, mourning my relationship with my family. So my relationship with my family is severed, and it is something that I, you know, most times am pretty positive about. You know, through doing mushrooms, I've found some level of peace with it, but it still really fucking hurts. And so I mourned that. I just wailed and cried and was screaming and just, I mean, I was letting it all out. All the grief that I was holding inside was just coming right out of me. And so I did this, and I was mourning for the fact that, you know, like, my parents are aging and I'm not going to be there for them. I was mourning over the fact that I also have been the kind of person to also make my parents not want to be around me. You know, I mean, I'm not a victim. I mean, certainly, like, I wish that we could come together and I could have a solid relationship with my family, but I do recognize where I've been an asshole and where I have contributed to them not wanting me around. So yeah, I mourned that, and I mourned the idea that I could have a family someday who's not going to know my half of the family. So that was a really intense moment, and I feel like I'd been holding that inside for a while, and it was able to finally come up. So that felt really, really good to get that out. So I made peace with myself as well. As I mentioned, I was having some self-confidence issues, which I feel comes up when I do take time away from mushrooms. And so, you know, through doing the mushrooms this time, you know, I was able to, like, love on myself too while standing in the water, and just forgive myself too for being an asshole to myself. Like, oh, you know, that idea of, like, am I a bad person? Well, am I a bad person to myself too? You know, because, like, the idea of hurt people, and, you know, there is a level of hurt still within me. You know, we all have hurt, right? And so a lot of my hurt that or my ways in which I am out of alignment is coming from a place in which I'm out of alignment with myself as well. So the experience was profound and incredible, and gave me exactly what I was looking for. After I was done in the creek, you know, I'm standing there in this creek, just like, I mean, I let so much out that by the end of the night, my throat was sore from how much I had been wailing and crying. And thank God this creek was isolated so I could do exactly that, because the neighbors, if a neighbor could have heard me, probably would have thought I was dying or I was killing somebody. So yeah, after I was done in the water, I dunked myself under in a way of bathing myself and clearing myself from the grief I feel, from the sorrow of a ruptured family lineage. And not too long after that, my husband came home, so I journeyed on my own, which I prefer to do as a seasoned psychonaut. And so when he got home, it felt really good to put my arms around him and to love on him and to cuddle and hold him and tell him about my experience and how I feel that I could be better for him. With all that being said, now is the time for integration. So I am reading the book. I am rereading The Four Agreements, which is pretty timely right now because I feel like a lot of the things, the foundation principles of the Four Agreements, I have forgotten. And so it has been nice to freshen up on those and to see a game plan for how I can do better. It's not just the realization of like, oh, I could be a better person, but like, how do you be a better person? And it's like not taking things personally, being impeccable with your word, all of these foundational principles that help you to, they're a guidepost for directing you to how to be a better person. So that was my experience with doing 5.55 grams. Super fucking profound. People are all about microdosing, which I think it's a great stepping stone into psilocybin, into psychedelics. I do feel, though, I myself have had the most profound experiences by doing a higher dose. So I'm always going to be a proponent of doing that, but working your way up to it and, having a trip sitter if you're new to it. Yeah, that's my experience. Thank you for sticking around. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I would love to hear if any of you have found healing through doing psilocybin with like family issues, maybe like eating disorders or like the way you view your body, even just like having a cynical look on the world, has doing psilocybin helped you with that? So thanks so much for watching this video. If you feel compelled to follow me on Instagram at Kelly_Hanner. I do have a backup account called I Am Kelly Hanner, but follow my main account. If you feel called to support me on Patreon, that would be appreciated. Or if you want to learn more about psychedelics, preferably psilocybin, and you don't know where to start, pick up my book, Safe Travels. The link is in the description below. Thanks so much, guys. Peace.